Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to come on here quick and talk a little about ableism in the TV show Lost. So I know Lost came out like a decade ago now, but I recently started watching it on Hulu. It's not a good show, but somehow it was popular. But also, not only is the writing very cringy, as a writer I say that, and I'm sure my writing is cringy at times, but also I've noticed there's a lot of ableism present in it. Now, I need to preface this video by saying I am only at the end of season 2, and there are 6 seasons of Lost, but I've seen enough of it to talk about some of the problems with ableism. So I'm gonna start off by talking about John Locke, but also I wanna preface this by saying that there may be spoilers in this video. Even though I'm only at the end of season 2, there still may be spoilers if you've watched no episodes, so just keep that in mind. But if you don't mind that, then keep watching. But I'm gonna start off by talking about John Locke, who's part of the main ensemble cast. And John Locke is a man who before he got on the island, before he was in the plane crash, he was paralyzed, so he used a manual chair. Now, first and foremost, in real life, the actor is not paralyzed. He does not use a wheelchair, which, of course, I have some issues with that. But because now that he's on the island, suddenly he is cured of his paralysis. So they could easily use an able-bodied actor because the only scenes he's disabled in are flashback scenes. It's not only that John Locke is cured of his paralysis, but it is the way he talks about it. Like, finally he's fixed and he's not broken and he's free. We hear a lot of this in media about disabled people that tends to be made by non-disabled people, and that is how I can usually tell whether something's been written by somebody who's disabled or not. It's because they often look at disability as some tragedy, as your life is over if you are disabled. So John Locke would rather be on this deserted island with a bunch of people than he would living in society in a wheelchair. Whew, that is quite a lot to take in. I really don't like this because of how John Locke talks about it and how his biggest fear seems to be becoming disabled again. Like in one episode, or in a few episodes actually, because it's a recurring theme, is he hurts his leg. And you can tell at first when he hurts his leg and he's laying on the ground and someone's like, "Oh, can you get up?" And he looks terrified at this prospect that he wouldn't be able to get up, because to him the scariest thing ever is to become disabled again. But you are trapped on an island with all these people and you're all always fighting and this and that, and you only have access to some medications, you have access to food, but like it comes and goes, and your biggest fear is being paralyzed. Yeah. Another thing is there's another woman on the island named Rose, and now her backstory is that she had terminal cancer before she got on the island, and when she got on the island, she was suddenly cured. My issue with that is not any of that, but it's that it gets compared to like John Locke being paralyzed. There is a big difference between having terminal cancer and just having a mobility disability. And now I know there are complications that can come with paralysis, like pressure sores and like he eyes and a whole host of issues. But I still don't think it is comparable to having a terminal illness. And I just think it says a lot about like the writers of the show that they thought that was like a good comparison, and oh, he can relate to this woman with a terminal illness, and both of them want to stay on the island because they're afraid if they leave, he'll go back to being paralyzed and she'll die of her cancer. Those are two very different things. And I really don't like how the show tried to make it out like, oh, they understand each other. They don't. I don't understand what it's like to have a terminal illness, and I am not going to pretend to. So yeah, and lastly, I want to talk about like the protagonist of the whole show, who, by the way, is one of the most insufferable characters on the show. His name is Jack, and he is a surgeon. And he's a spinal surgeon, and he works on a lot of people with paralysis or other spinal issues. And his ex-wife, Sarah, which first off, he met her as a doctor and she was the patient. She was paralyzed and she wanted surgery on her back, and the whole time she's like, oh, I just want to be able to dance at my wedding. First of all, you can dance at your wedding in a wheelchair. I really don't understand this whole, I want to be able to dance at my wedding. There are many ways to dance. I don't know who needs to hear this, but apparently a lot of people do, because it is a trope I see all the time in the media, especially, but I've even heard it in real life. But there's no reason why she would not be able to dance at her wedding, first of all. And then she keeps saying, please fix me, and then when he operates on her spine and she's miraculously cured, which let's suspend disbelief for a second, because we know in reality, even if there was a surgery that he could repair her spine, I'm sure it would still take a really long time and a lot of rehabilitation to get to a point where she's just like fully able-bodied. And to be honest, I don't know if that would ever even be possible, because no matter what, you still damaged your spinal cord. But okay, if we're gonna suspend disbelief, because I mean, again, this show is not realistic, so. But she says to him, you fixed me, you made me whole again. being in a wheelchair is not being half of a person. I hate that trope. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. It reminds me of Jerry Lewis when he was talking about people with muscular dystrophy. If you don't know, Jerry Lewis was an actor and he ran the muscular dystrophy telethon, which has a host of controversies attached to it, and maybe one day I will make a video about it. We'll see. No promises there, but it definitely is something I'm interested in delving into a bit deeper. But it reminds me of when Jerry Lewis said, like, having muscular dystrophy makes you half of a person. I'm not gonna pretend there aren't issues with muscular dystrophy. Obviously, there are. People's life expectancy a lot of times is a lot less than able-bodied people or even people with different disabilities, but that doesn't make them half of a person. Having a disability does not lessen your humanity, and I just want to make that clear, and that is part of why I make these types of videos, is because my entire life I've consumed media that told me that somehow I was less human than a non-disabled person, and that's not true. I hate Jack's whole savior complex in the show. It really, really bothers me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's bothered by this. When I was searching the internet, lost ableism, first of all, it's hard to find because since the name of the show is Lost, you're gonna get a lot of results that have nothing to do with the show because it's just one word and it's not something uncommon. But I only saw one article and it was only really about John Locke. And I mean, I'm glad somebody wrote that article because I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one here. I'm not just like looking for problems. Like other people see this as an issue. So that's also why I wanted to make this video, was because I saw there wasn't a lot online about this, at least not that I could find. I mean, it might be out there, but I may have to dig a little deeper. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you watched Lost, did you have thoughts on this? Maybe later in the show, things will change. I don't know. I don't have high hopes because I have heard after like season 3 or something, it really goes downhill. But yeah. And it's like, Erica, why do you keep watching the show if you hate it so much? I feel like at this point, it's like I need to see how it ends, even though I accidentally read a spoiler online. I would not recommend doing that, but yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have not already and you would like to see more of my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I really appreciate when people watch my more rambly videos.